For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
Like we talked about in a separate video, the response to the assassination of Charlie Kirk has probably been one of the most disheartening things that I've seen in quite some time. It seems like ever since that shot rang out, people have been trying to build a narrative that would make their side look better than the other side. And that's kind of one of the things that we've had to contend with in our political reality. No matter where the violence is coming from, no matter the ideology of the perpetrator, people like to take bits and pieces of a story that they can use as a weapon against their political opposition. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it has been no different. Even though at the time of this recording, we still have no clue what the ideology is of the young man who took Charlie Kirk's life. We don't know if he's a crazy lefty. We don't know if he's a crazy right-wing lunatic. Right now, we just don't have definitive answers. That's why it was so insane to see the President of the United States, even before an arrest was made, came out and blamed this entire thing on the radical left. And so I want to go ahead and show you what that national address looked like. And then I want to go over what responsible messaging from a President of the United States would actually look like. If you guys do appreciate my work and want to support the show, please do remember to subscribe.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
I want everybody to remember that when he issued this video address to the nation, there was not an arrest for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, you thought he was going to get there, right? For far too long, political opponents have been demonizing one another. But then he just has to go to, and it's the radical left and the rhetoric that they use, comparing people to Nazis, that is responsible for the domestic terrorism that we are seeing in this country. It is their rhetoric. It is their organizations that is responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. Even though we have no clue as to whether this was a crazy lefty or it was a crazy righty. We just do not know. We still do not know. And then he goes even further by saying we're going to come after all of these organizations. He's using this as a moment to go after his perceived enemies. This is a president of the United States who is basically greenlighting political violence as long as it is carried out in the name of MAGA. And this should come as pretty much no surprise to anybody at this point. I mean, we saw what Donald Trump did on January 6th. He riled up a mob of his supporters. He marched them down to the Capitol so they could try to stop a free and fair election that he didn't want to admit that he lost. And now you've got somebody who supposedly is a friend of Donald Trump's, had his life taken from him, and now Donald Trump is using this moment to incite more violence against people on the left. That is what this message is going to do. He is blaming all of this political violence that we've seen on the radical left. Even though more than 75% of political violence is carried out by people on the right. And when we're talking about fatalities as a result of political violence, that is well over 90% coming from people on the right. He just has no clue what he's talking about. And it is irresponsible for a president of the United States to get up there before we had any information at all about the shooter and say shit like this. Now, he brought up other political violence as well. You'll notice that he talked about all these different events that were supposedly carried out by lefties, but even the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, that was carried out by a crazy Republican. We already know that. And so to try to blame that on the radical left also makes no sense. And I just want to compare and contrast that against what Biden said after the assassination attempt of Donald Trump himself.
Fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America.
We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. And he is speaking on the assassination attempt of Donald Trump himself. Do you notice the difference in tone, the difference in messaging, where Biden is making a true effort to try to turn down the temperature? He's saying that we cannot go down this road, that we've been here before, that we don't know the political ideology of this person. We don't know his political affiliations. And it shouldn't matter, because political violence only begets more political violence. And somebody like Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, understood that. That's why he was so careful with his words, saying we just do not have all of the details, that the police are still investigating. And even if it did come back that this was some crazy lefty or some crazy MAGA lunatic, that it shouldn't matter, because we don't want to go down this road in the United States of America. I mean, just really compare and contrast that to what we just heard from Donald Trump, where he's literally using this moment to incite more violence, to blame this whole political violence problem on people on the left, even though that is completely contrary to all of the facts on the ground. And then, even if we go back another presidency, after a black church was shot up by Dylann Roof, listen to how Obama responded to that situation.
But I don't need to be constrained about the emotions that tragedies like this raise. I've had to make statements like this too many times. Communities like this have had to endure tragedies like this too many times. We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun. Now is the time for mourning and for healing. But let's be clear. At some point, we as a country will have to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries. It doesn't happen in other places with this kind of frequency. And it is in our power to do something about it. I say that recognizing the politics in this town foreclose a lot of those avenues right now. But it'd be wrong for us not to acknowledge it. And at some point, it's going to be important for the American people to come to grips with it. And for us to be able to shift how we think about the issue of gun violence collectively.
So there might be some people out there that maybe didn't like that he, veered into the whole gun control debate. But notice, he was very particular with his words. He was very careful with what he was actually saying. We don't have all the facts. These types of shootings don't happen in other countries. And even though we are, facing some political turmoil here in Washington, D.C., maybe one day we'll be able to have these types of conversations that can actually save lives. Obama could have very easily made this an attack on the right wing. He could have said that, the right, they're in bed with the NRA and all the other gun lobby. They're holding up all of our gun legislation. They're holding up any gun reform that might save lives. He didn't do that. Because a president of the United States, even though you might be Democrat or Republican, you're a president for all Americans. That's why when you've got moments of political violence like this, moments of tragedy, of national tragedy like this, you don't take the time to turn up the temperature and basically green light violence as long as it's carried out by people on your side. That is just an irresponsible thing to do. We have never once seen Donald Trump make an actual effort to turn down the temperature of the political violence that he has helped usher in over the past decade. Not once has he made an actual effort to do so. And if I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong. Go ahead and send me a video. If you're going to send me a clip, a 10-second clip of Donald Trump saying, yeah, well, political violence isn't good, play the rest of that video and you'll notice every single time he turns it to, but people on the radical left, they've got a real problem. This political violence is only coming from people on the radical left, and we got to do something about those radical left freaks. Every single time, that is what he does. He is an irresponsible person. He is a selfish person. He is a president of the United States who doesn't care about the country. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. And if you're carrying out violence in the name of MAGA, well, then he's going to cheer you on every step of the way. And we've done videos like this in the past. We have dug up clips from Donald Trump going back to 2015 of inciting violence, of, encouraging people to use their Second Amendment rights. Beat the hell out of people. I'll cover your bail or whatever it is. He has been doing this ever since he came onto the political scene back in 2015. And even though we know for a fact that most political violence is carried out by people on the right, you've got Donald Trump trying to make this a problem solely of the left. It is dangerous, it is irresponsible, and it is just unbecoming of a president of the United States. So like I said, guys, we still have no clue at the time of this recording who killed Charlie Kirk. We don't know if he was a Republican. We don't know if he was a Democrat. Well, we do know that he was unaffiliated, but we don't know necessarily the ideology that he was radicalized into. At the time of this recording, we still do not know that. But I would argue that it doesn't even matter. No matter where the political violence is coming from, we should all be able to denounce it. Because political violence only begets more political violence, especially when you have a president of the United States who is egging this shit on. So, I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that pushes back against this right-wing media ecosystem that just launders all of this violent rhetoric coming from Donald Trump. What, on a monthly basis, weekly basis at this point? So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. Of course, that is free. If you guys want to go a step above and beyond that and help me produce these videos, you can become a member right here on YouTube for as little as $3 a month. Or you can head over to politiscape.substack.com where you can have my content delivered straight to your inbox every single day without the doom scrolling, without the algorithmic bullshit that we have to deal with on these platforms. And until next one, guys, take care of yourselves and have a good one.